Good evening and welcome to the Hemingway Jones live fountain pen show. Welcome to another Tuesday evening. So happy to be here. Welcome to our little corner of the internet where we talk about fountain pens, inks, journals and journaling, and just about everything and anything that's going to keep you inspired. That's the goal, to keep you inspired and engaged. And we have a fun show for you tonight. We're going to talk about something that came out of me that was shocking, that I never thought I'd hear myself say, the context in which I said it, and what it meant, and what it kind of means for building a collection, which is something I've sort of realized I am doing without really putting a lot of intention behind it. And that is curating a collection and sharing it with you. And I think in that there'll be a lot of different turns and detours and explorations and probably blind alleys, and I'll contradict myself a few times. I already have. I've ranged from wide, inky, flowy nibs with dramatic line variation down to wispy, gossamer, extra fines and fines that spread almost a lattice work of line. And sometimes I grab each for different occasions. So there's a lot to explore there, a lot to talk about, and I will get to that pretty quick. I'm going to put aside my usual postponement where I normally get to it at like the end of the hour, and I'm going to get to it much, much quicker. My phone seems to be making a lot of noise. I'm not sure why. Because of Ecamm. You guys know it's my ongoing battle with Ecamm, the world's worst streaming platform that I wrestle with every week. But no problem. Happy to see everyone here. I see a lot of the members here. I'm always happy to see you guys. Thank you for joining. Thanks for all your support. It means a lot. Thanks for all the thumbs up. I see them flying by. That means a lot. I appreciate it. I want to make sure I get my thanks out to you guys, because without you, I wouldn't be here, or I'd be here and no one would be watching. So thank you. Thank you. All right, just some stuff around kind of the channel just to mention and check in, which I thought is interesting. One is that the top 5 journals and notebooks for dark academia seems to have done well. Seems like you guys you still like dark academia videos. They're a lot of fun. There's one coming that you will like that's on a specific fountain pen. And it's a really fun collaboration that's coming up, which I am really excited about. And it's with Benu fountain pens. So Benu and I decided to partner on something, so I'd be able to bring you something really, really interesting. And we were just chatting. It was like one of these things where we were chatting, and then I asked them, sometimes I ask them for 2 pens, and they decided to send them along because I had some really interesting ideas for a video. I'm going to try to get one up before I leave for Italy at the beginning of the next month. So I'm super excited for that, and I think you're going to enjoy it because it's going to have these dark academic gothic vibes, and we're going to be able to get into some specific themes. And I think you guys like when I weave a story of a little bit broader context than just a specific pen. We go beyond into different ideas. So I think you're going to enjoy that. As it seemed like you guys like the dark academic journals and journaling. I should mention I started, I think I can reach it. I hate to turn my back to you guys, but I've been wanting to do something in this very large onion skin notebook, because I just think it would be really, really awesome for the channel. I'll show you what I did. It's something I don't normally do, but there's a reason for it. Let me get the second camera on here. Okay, so here we have it. This journal's too big to be covered by the whole camera. But so I wrote out the final couple paragraphs of The Great Gatsby, which always moved me. It's challenging. It's sort of the whole thing about what you dream of, what you aspire toward, and how sometimes you're already beyond it, you don't realize it, and you could end up in tragic circumstances like Mr. Gatsby. But this was done for a variety of purposes. One was it was very relaxing. I didn't have to think of what to write. I could recopy. I almost never recopy stuff. Secondly, I got to work on my handwriting, which is always fun. Handwriting continues to be a challenge for me. And for Ecamm. There we go. So sorry. Ecamm once again doing what it wants. It's sentient. I think it has its own agenda. But so here we have all the different sort of lines and heights I think are fairly uniform for me. It still has my capricious capitalization. So, all right, what's the other reason why I'm doing this? I want to use this book, and the way I think I'll use it is as a backdrop in my B-roll. So I'm going to do some illustrations, I hope, and some other things like this where I'm doing some writing. I might do something like almost trying to do an illuminated manuscript, or maybe a page from like the Voynich manuscript. If you know the Voynich manuscript, the one that people aren't sure what it says, has all these plants that don't seem to exist and whatnot. So that's my aspiration. I don't know how far I'll get. It's hard for me to do half of the projects I'm trying to do now, including the channel, when, I work like 50 hours a week in my career too. And, it's a busy life, but I would like to have something like this. And I'd also like to maybe reproduce some maps in here. If I can draw them. I always wanted to draw a map. And I was thinking about maybe like antique maps of Venice, or floor plans of cathedrals would be kind of neat. Also, maybe some maps of Middle Earth would be a lot of fun. And then I'd be able to sort of turn to that page and then lay it out and then shoot against it in my videos. And this book is big enough, if I can get it back too. So the book is quite large, as you can see. So if I was able to do something across 2 pages, I could do a pretty neat backdrop map or some such, I think, guys. And maybe kind of have a book I could go to. Although I have to be mindful, because that which you write in onion skin shows on both sides, which is an effect. But I'll also have to keep that in mind. If I do a full page, I won't be able to use the other side of that page. So that's my project I'm hoping to do here. It'll probably take a very, very long time, but it will be making its way into the channel and kind of stand in sometimes for my writing. Oh, I should show you this again, because you might be curious as to what I used to produce this. Does anybody in the comments want to guess which pen I use? Can you tell anyone what I used to produce this? Can you imagine? Anyone in the comments? Put it in the comments, or if you're streaming live, put it in there. Oh, there we go. I'm really sorry about this. Ecamm is doing that. It's not supposed to do that, so I do apologize. We'll just have to muddle through because I need it. But this is what I used. I used the magnificent Waterman Edson. Wow. And by the way, if anybody knows anyone at the company Ecamm, can you let them know just how like dreadful their product works? And maybe they could reach out to me and I can tell them just how terrible their streaming is and how it just never reliably works. Which makes it disappointing, because I'm trying to produce a really good show for you guys. So yeah, I see some votes for the Edson. So some pretty interesting stuff there. I also want to get into something that's sort of a leftover from last week. If you recall, we were speaking about which travel fountain pens I would bring to Italy. And I did have a pen out I forgot to mention. It's very, very important. So this is the Kaweco Art Sport, and it's in terrazzo. And this one, it's not a question of, is it coming to Italy with me? No, this one's coming to Italy with me. So this is definitely coming. And the reason is that it's just brilliant. It's just gorgeous. And how could I pass up the opportunity to photograph this on an actual Venetian terrazzo floor? I can't. So this is going to probably have, well, I think I have a converter in here, so I can guess I can put whatever ink I want. But yeah, it looks like it had blue in there before, or black, but probably blue. But this is definitely coming. So if you were wondering why I didn't mention it, it was next to me, but I just missed it in all the action of trying to run the show and keep everything in line. But absolutely gorgeous pen, so Italian, even though it's made in Germany. And it's going to look absolutely stunning in Italy. So that's coming. And I'm very strongly leaning toward this, and I think we can talk a little bit about this, almost like my pen check, if you will. But this is the Waterman Edson, of course. And this has some very, very, very advantageous pro travel features that would make this ideal. Now, I'm hesitating a little bit in bringing it because I'm just afraid of messing it up, and I adore it. But one of the things that's interesting about it is that it has a technology where it's not supposed to ever burp ink. It's supposed to recycle it back into its ink reservoir if the pressure should build up and try to push it out of the nib. So it's supposed to be able to circulate it back in, which would definitely be advantageous on an airplane. Oh, thank you, Ecamm. Not that I've ever had problems with one, but if I ever did, this should eliminate a lot of those issues. But a very beautiful, free-flowing pen. I just can't get enough of this. Wow, you guys. This just has such a regulated flow. I don't know if there is another one like it. There's just perfection here. I can hear my daughter. You guys hear my daughter? She's in the background, getting ready for bed. So just the ink flow is just so gorgeous, just so flowy, so flawless. The only time you can even have an error with this nib is if you just sort of approach it from a different angle. Like, you know, it is narrow enough that if you try to write and you're not straight up and down, you could have an issue, but that's it. I mean, this thing is, it's just pure writing. It's writing without any distraction. It's transcendent. It's hard to stop. And it's going to go into our main topic a bit because this is definitely one of the things I want to speak about. But when you start writing with this fountain pen, it's just, you get such a high level of confidence with it that you don't want to risk it on anything else that might not perform as well when you need it to. It's that good. It's stunning. The menacing paper, in case you're curious. Okay. So I think I have two of the pens picked for Italy. The Waterman Edson, because I don't think I want to part with it. I just adore it. And then the Caveco Art Sport Terrazzo. Because this, in those Venetian floors and the different photography and videos I'll be able to take, so much fun. So I'm super excited about both of these, and I'll probably fill them both up. I'm not going to bring ink with me. I think I'm going to bring 4 pens. I want to travel light, and that's probably too many. And someone said, well, pens don't weigh very much. So how does taking a lot of pens contradict you traveling light? Well, a lot of that is a state of mind in traveling light. So 4 pens are four different things you need to look after. Now, I'm going to bring this Lockbee Quattro case with me, and I'm going to put the Edson, the Terrazzo, and then 2 more, and I'm not sure which. I'm leaning toward a Montblanc 147 in burgundy, which is right here. This is a great travel pen, has 2 cartridges in it, and maybe a Safari for rough and tumble moments, although the Sport can kind of handle that too. So that's what I'm thinking. Oh, Ryan Grace, I happen to see this comment. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan says, which inks am I using when I'm traveling? The Waterman Edson will be full of Gerbon Eclat de Saphir. The Terrazzo, I'm not sure yet, but probably something similar. Or maybe something red like Oxblood. The Montblanc 147 will have Montblanc Burgundy Red, which is very, very nice. Very similar to Oxblood. Very nice. I'll show you that ink if you'd like to see it. And then the Safari will probably have some blue or black or whatever's in it. And I'll probably just bring some extra ones. Let's see what we have. If Ecamm will be kind. I'm so sorry about this second camera. It's not supposed to do that. Ecamm is just such a struggle. Okay, so here we have the Montblanc Burgundy, which I think is very nice. Very nice. I guess it's not really that close to Diamine. How do you spell burgundy? Okay. I had to look. I'm like, is that right? Burgundy. Burgundy. Yeah, I did it right. Great. So this is a joy to use. This pen is elegant. It's thin. It's got great color. It's a little more red than showing up on the camera at the moment, but very refined. So I'm kind of excited to use this one too. We'll talk more about this in a few minutes. So that's pretty exciting. So I do want to mention that this week's video on Thursday is about pen cases. And I go through pen cases and talk about whether or not they're really giving us the kind of protection we hope they are, which ones I like, what I look for, which ones I don't like, and why. And it's a very breezy, very informative, fun, quick-moving video. I think you guys will enjoy it. And it's different. I don't think I've ever done anything on a topic like this, but it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of shots of the Lockbee, a couple of the Esterbrook cases, and some of the other interesting cases that I have accumulated over the years. As someone who just started using pen cases too, I should mention, I've often put my pens in bags and bag slots, in lapel pockets, and then I had this really cheap pen case, which I do mention in the video, and I use that because it has a lot of crush room and a lot of cushioning that even some more expensive pen cases didn't have. So I think you'll enjoy it. It's a very fun, breezy video. So that's coming Thursday. And if you're watching and you made it even this far and you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Just trying to get to 20,000 and we're close. We're getting close. It's pretty exciting. And I appreciate it, you guys. I'm working hard to make it interesting and keep it going. So I'd appreciate that. If you could, if you wouldn't mind, just a little button. So thank you. Okay, so that is a good topic, maybe a good transition to go into some of the stuff that I've been mulling over and thinking about. And I was recording a video last weekend and I heard myself say that I was getting bored like bored with fountain pens. Excuse me one second. Little bit of tea. helps the voice. And then I quickly clarified what I meant by that. And when that happens, I always listen to myself because I find that I have lessons to offer to myself. That sometimes the things that catch me as challenging are often things that take me in a different direction or open up a doorway to a different library that I didn't know existed. And I'm able to explore it and learn even more about life, the universe, and everything. So I heard myself say that a fountain pen, a particular fountain pen, which I'll show you momentarily, rescued me from boredom of fountain pens. And there's a lot of truth to that. And I'm going to show you which fountain pen exactly, and some of you might already guess it. Put it in the comments if you've guessed it or if you think you know which one. But there you go. There it is, the Mighty Mont Blanc Bohème. So the Bohème I purchased earlier this year, and it came like a wrecking ball and sort of tore a hole through my expectations of my fountain pens, and kind of just brightened me up. It's not writing very well right now. Let me see. It's probably out of ink. Are you out of ink? You know, I'm always afraid to mess it up. Looks like there's some ink in there. I was filming with this, so I definitely had a good time. I don't know. It's not writing very well. It's got to be out of ink. This thing has never let me down. I don't know. I'm just going to change it anyway. So, it's fun to change ink on this. You just push it in, and then you go like that. So, this one just sort of revitalized my passion for pens again. And part of the reason was I was just getting bored with the same old. I was getting bored with like Jowo nibs and them just sort of writing in a very uniformed way. Just want to get this nice and flowy. Oh, there we go. Live television, ladies and gentlemen. When I have time, it is pretty empty. There we go. Much better. I was just surprised because usually this thing is lush. So it was at a time when I was sort of bored of like the same old Jowo nibs, and I was like reviewing a lot of pens that were new to me, and I wasn't sure how I felt about them, and there was like this endless progression. And then this one came along, and it's like a little treasure, like a jewelry box. And when it doesn't embarrass me on live television, it's very, very reliable. One thing I do notice though is that you do have to keep writing consistently. You can't leave this for months. I'm not sure how tight it seals. So you definitely want to keep writing. But a very nice, full size nib. Probably equivalent of like a 144, I'd imagine. Something, one of the smaller ones. It's definitely smaller than a 146. But very elegant, interesting nib. Let me see how it compares. Here's the Around the World in 80 Days. It's about the same size as that. There you go. So, I would say that's the same nib. Just obviously not two-tone on this one. Being very careful with this one. It's easy to scratch. So I kind of was challenging myself that I was getting sort of bored of fountain pens. But what I meant was the same old, and kind of working with them in a very uninspired way. And it made me want to get beyond and move my collection in a different direction to something where each piece is representative of a type or slightly different, and not just multiples of the same, even though I lapse into that, as I think anyone can or does. Lami Safari is one of the more common fountain pens, even though I feel like you can make those very unique with their colors and with their nibs. They have their calligraphy nib, which is their stub, which is gorgeous. There's the cursive nib, which I quite like as well, which is very, very different. You could get a different color, which I really like. But like right now, I want the Lami Safari in terracotta and in Savannah. I want those original 1980s colors, as much as I criticize myself for just buying colors. But the reason is I love that they're the original ones, and I just feel like I just want to have them for my collection and for filming. I'm often, anytime I talk about the Safari, I often put up images of the original Safari fountain pens, and it would just be very nice to actually have them. So that is something that I am working on. But outside of that, my collection started to seem like I wanted to prune it. Like I wanted to get rid of some of the duplications and put a little more color and diversity and flowering. Like imagine if you have an ecosystem and you have sunflowers and daisies, and you're saying, I have a lot of sunflowers and daisies. They're gorgeous. I love them. But maybe I could prune these a little, put in some roses, put in some daffodils, get a little biodiversity in here, get a bit more color, a bit more expression, have a more well-rounded, garden or collection, one that works maybe all year, where some fade away and new ones take over. So I'm starting to have this. It's an easy analogy to reach for. Maybe it's a little trite to reach for a gardening analogy, especially since I don't garden, but nevertheless, here we are. But that is my idea, is to sort of prune and pare down. And I'm going to rehome a bunch of pens that I didn't think I would do, because I think in developing your collection and in setting goals for yourself, there are goals that you try to reach. You say, I want to purchase every Grail pen. Maybe some of you out there have that as a goal. Or maybe you just want to experience every Grail pen. But you could go out and keep buying them, and that's your goal, okay? What if it was the opposite? What if your goal was, I don't want to have any more than 25 fountain pens? I've seen people in the comments say that they limit themselves to 3, to 8, to 10, 12. I've heard all different numbers, and I respect all of that. And I think it might be difficult for someone who makes videos, who gets pens and they come and they go, to be too tough on myself on an exact number. But I do feel that that is an ideal that I can rise toward. Maybe I don't need another clone. If I have an X159, I have 3 Jinhao X159s. Maybe I even have 4. I have at least 3. One writes well. I know that much. I think I have 4. But regardless, I have any more than the one that writes well is too many. Maybe I'll tinker with the nib, rehome it, give it to someone. And similarly, even some of my more expensive pens, I'm going to move out and move along. And I'm going to replace them with more interesting, more compelling choices. That's just something I decided. Oh, I recognize David Parsons with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. And he says, Found a citrine Mont Blanc 145. What's your take on the 145? I love the 145. I do. I mean, I'm over the moon on this 147. So I would do it. I'd probably do it as something slightly different if I could. Citrine sounds gorgeous. I like Mont Blanc, and I feel like they make interesting and unique pens, but I don't want to fall into that trap, for me a trap, of saying that I want different, diverse, and interesting, and only ascribing that to expensive, because that's not the case. I think you could do that. Sometimes if you put a lot of money out, you're going to get something unique. The Bohème is a very unique pen. And I got this very affordably. I had to do some work on it. I think you see what condition it's in now. It's in very nice condition. I used Polywatch and I shined it up. I used a jewelry cloth on this, and the nib was fine. And then I cleaned it, and that was all I did. And now it looks like $1 million, and it was under $4 when I bought it. So I'm very, very pleased with that. This has been a brilliant pen, and I would buy more, but boy, they can be really expensive. So I don't want to just get into buying expensive pens. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments. Is it worth it to you to pay more? And I can give you one instance that I think any amount of money almost is worth it. And that's this Waterman Edison. This thing is brilliant. I think you're going to see this on a lot of lists of mine. There's a video coming up on Waterman, which I think you'll like. History and sort of like, we didn't love it when it was at its zenith. And it's one of its zeniths was in the 90s. And I think you're going to enjoy that video. And this pen is worth whatever you pay for it, because it's been brilliant, guys. I mean, it just writes so amazing. It has a never-ending flow. It's so smooth, so regular, and it's so comfortable, and it has a bit of intense energy to it. Its design is very Art Deco, very mid-century, sort of like if you were the CEO of Pan American Airlines, like Juan Trippe would use this pen in his office in the Chrysler building. That's the kind of energy this fountain pen gives off. And the barrel is gorgeous. The lighting in here is not doing it justice for the live show, but it's sort of double barreled, so it has tremendous depth and it glows. It's impressive. I get the most compliments with this pen. I rarely get compliments on any of my fountain pens, any of them. I use them every day and at work, and almost no one notices, but people notice this one. It's often in my pocket. I usually have a lapel pocket, and it'll be sticking out like that. And people notice and they'll ask, like, what is that? That's gorgeous. So, Chaz Mina sent a super sticker. Thanks a lot, Chaz. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. So I think in some cases, putting out money is very, very important. If you get value in return, you get a pen that inspires you, that writes brilliantly. But it's not always about money. Sometimes it's just about different and even kind of strange and wonderful. So let me show you what I consider to be strange and wonderful. This, as you probably know, is the Pilot E95S. And that says E, but if you look from the wrong angle, it looks like it says 3, which I also kind of like. The E, it's an E for elite, but it looks like a 3. So anyway, friction cap, slides on, becomes quite a large pen. It's ridiculous unposted, but it's brilliant posted. I love this colorway. I believe it's ivory and burgundy. I might not quite have that correct. If someone in the comments wants to correct me, feel free. I think this is empty. Yeah, this doesn't have ink in it. I haven't used it in a while, but this one, I love this pen. It's interesting. It's inexpensive. This is a pen that you can get for 100. I've seen it anywhere from 100 to like 140. And it has a gold nib, and it's quite aquiline, quite long, has a little bit of flex to it, but it doesn't have line variation. So, but as a pen, it's a great writer. It's a very enjoyable pen. Has a ridiculously tiny pilot converter, but that's okay. It's good for those of us that have a very short ink attention span. But this is a brilliant fountain pen for travel, easy to carry around, easy to stick in a purse, and just so elegant and so sophisticated and so beautiful. So, this is one of those pens that I would recommend to you, that if you said, I want a collection that's a little different too, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. So what do you suggest, Hemingway, that I do if I don't want to spend a lot of money, but I want a really interesting fountain pen? Pilot E95S. You can get a lot of enjoyment out of this for a little bit of money. It's a gorgeous pen, a great writer, very sophisticated, and a very, very fine but very expressive nib. So I highly recommend it if you don't have one. So this is one that keeps me inspired. Now I'm going to go on the ridiculous other end of the spectrum and show you something else that really motivates me. But first, Puppet Access with a $5 super chat. Thanks, Puppet Access. I really appreciate it, my friend. You do a lot for the channel. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Puppet Access says, I have about 120 Chinese fountain pens, including samples from different factories to showcase their wares. They're all unique. That's a very good point. I'm glad you bring that up because it's going to help me transition into another pen that I just grabbed. So, let me first go to that Puppet Access, what Puppet Access is saying. So very interesting, talking about sort of samples and whatnot. So this, you might have seen me, I posted this in a short. This is a carbon fiber fountain pen from Gravitas. And this is a prototype. So this is Ben Walsh riffing on what he can do, seeing whether or not it's going to work in a production pen. The cap's still a bit chunky. Not everything is totally refined, but boy, can I tell you how much I love this. This is a one-of-a-kind fountain pen. This was Ben's pen. Ben just gave it to me at the DC Pen Show. He's a mad lad. I love that guy. He's just a blast to hang out with. And I really appreciated his generosity, both in giving me this pen, which is really brilliant, and in just his time and his kindness to me and my family. So let's get the Nemesis paper back up. So I believe he had Yamabudo in here, and I kept that going. It just recently ran out because I've been writing with it quite a bit. But he just crafts amazing pens. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is an ebony feed. Carbon fiber, has a bit of grain. Nice ink window, piston filled. Interesting cap, very unadorned. It doesn't have a name. That's what I love about this. It's a prototype. And no one has this pen but me. So maybe like some of Puppet Access's Chinese pens, this one is also one of a kind. And I like that. And I'm gravitating more toward the one-of-a-kind pens. And this does have a steel nib. Very stealthy black one with the Gravitas logo. But this is as smooth as anything. You can see how wet that is. It's nice, huh? Isn't that nice? I love it. I love it that it's not completely finished. I love that it's a prototype. I love that it's been in Ben's pocket probably for a couple years. And he just, in just a burst of just generosity and enthusiasm just gave it to me at the DC Pen Show. So very cool pen. I could touch this pen. I could touch this all night. It's so interesting. It's so tactile. It's got a bit of grain, yet it's still very, very smooth. So very, very nice. So you'll see that on the channel a bit. And this one too, I didn't film with this. I didn't fill it yet, but I'm excited. This is Ben Walsh's take on a Pilot Custom 823. So he reinforced it in all the places an 823 might break. So that's pretty exciting. He doesn't like clips. So he doesn't like to affect the symmetry of his pens. And so none of them have clips, but he does offer clips if you'd like one. So there you have it. So these are really interesting. So that's another direction I'm going in with one of a kinds. And then there's stuff like this, which is kind of the rare. This is kind of a rare beast. You see them, but usually in black. This is the Cartier Diablo with the ruby cabochon. Cabochon. I just like to say that. With the C for Cartier on the clip. I'm pretty sure, I've said this before on the channel, you might recall, I'm pretty sure this is a Mont Blanc. This looks like the same nib we were looking at earlier on the Bohème and the 147. It says Cartier on it, but even the way the fins look and the feed, I'm pretty sure this is all Mont Blanc. I think they make it for Cartier, and Cartier decorates it, which is fine. It's a cartridge converter. It's got a nice converter. It's not the nicest, but it's nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice. And of course, this material is Chinese lacquer. It's been painted and layered over a certain amount of time. That's how you do this decoration. If my wife were here, she would explain it better than I can, because that's her specialty. And I've had this now for, gosh, 20 years. So it has a little bit of honest wear on it, which I'm very pleased. But nothing too terrible. But kind of a more rare pen, not something you see. It's a brick. It's very heavy. I'm not sure what it weighs, but I'll bet if somebody told me it weighs 60 grams, I wouldn't argue. I'd probably say, yeah, it probably does. In fact, I need to get a scale. So remind me to buy a scale. I want to get a gram scale, and I want to get a caliper so I can measure things. But pretty hefty, but pretty interesting pen. Very elegant and very expressive. So that's another direction I'm going in. And once again, just to sort of, if you want to compare, you can rewind later. But here's the nib. See the feed? Actually, you know what? Let's just take them both out. All right. This is just Jones theory. I could be wrong. But come on. Don't they look like the same makers to you? Or am I all wet? Look at that feed. Look at the nib shape. Here, if I put this one up, it's like forced perspective and they look the same size. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. But I could be wrong. Somebody out there knows for sure. This pen is interesting as a travel pen because it has this little ink sled. And you just screw it in and puts it into the feed. So it's super fun. You have to be a little gentle. You don't want to ever disturb the nipple in there on the feed. You could be in for a world of pain. So I'm very careful, especially when you first put it in. But this is coming to Italy with me with 2 fresh cartridges. Here's another one that I find very, very interesting. You may have recalled that Yost gave me this pen earlier in the year for the channel. I have been waiting 30 years for this fountain pen. A piston-filled CCO Sport made out of aluminium. Beautiful gold inlaid clip. Haven't really taken this out of the house much. I filmed with it and I've been kind of careful with it. I need to get a little dirty. It needs to come alive a little more. But, I mean, look at that, guys. Look at that. Am I wrong? Beautiful, lusty bronze nib. So very, very cool. Okay, I want to recognize some super chats because I appreciate it and I don't want to be ungrateful. Thank you so much. The Martha M. Martha M. 4.99. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The founder of the Waterman company was named Louis Edson Waterman. Indeed it was. And that's all in my new video coming. I think you're really going to dig that. There's quite a bit on that. And there's a few surprises on some other names of fountain pens and their relations to the channel. So this pen, thank you, Martha. I really appreciate the support. Thank you. So this has an interesting trick up its sleeve. And it's this. Say you want to fill your pen. Now you have a cap on here. See? And you have to take this cap off. And then you turn this to fill your pen. Okay? So if you're me, you're going to lose this very quickly. Because I lose things, I break things very, very quickly. Well, you want a place to put it. Put it here. And then... which way is it? There you go. You unscrew it and the cap stays. See? It doesn't come out. The cap's in there. And it's not here. Now you want to put it back. You screw it back on and then you pull it out straight. And then you want to keep it there. And you do that. See? It's like a magic trick. It's a magic trick. It's on. It's off. So isn't that cool? I love German engineering. I love little tricks like that. And it's just a great place to put it to keep your cap safe. Oh boy, this is a great pen. This is a kind of pen you just like, you want to sign your name all day. You're not going to get tired with this pen. It's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun and different. And deserves a spot in my collection. In many people's collection. So I really like this one. Oh, more super chats. Yay. Thank you so much. Robin, you do so much. Thank you, Robin. $9.99. Thank you. Hemingway, buy a gram scale. They're a dime a gram. Exactly. I need to get a scale. You know why? Because Robin speaks accurately. I don't trust what the manufacturers say. They post these weights and then I go out. I usually get the weights for pens from Goulet's site, from Atlas, from Tom Otto, wherever at Goldspot, wherever they put them on their product pages. But the funny part is sometimes you bring them up and they're different. They don't always match. And I'm sort of journalistic minded. I often like to check my facts and make sure I'm right. And if I had a scale, I could just be right because I'd have a scale. Just have to make sure it's calibrated. By the way, is the show flying by? Can you believe how quickly the show's going tonight? I'm having a blast. I hope you are. Consider subscribing. Love to have you along. I really would. S. Lewis is here with a $20 super chat. Thank you very much, S. Lewis. I love my Parker 51, but I have it in ballpoint, so it actually writes. Oh, that's funny. Thank you, S. Lewis. S. Lewis, thank you so, so much, my friend. Very, very generous of you. $20, thank you. I like my vintage Parker 51. And that's a nice transition because that's another direction you can go in sort of pruning and culling your collection. You can go in the vintage route. I don't have any vintage pens out, but vintage pens are almost like ones of a kind. Their tolerances weren't so strict, so you might not necessarily get the same as someone else. This is a Piniter Grande Bellezza. And this is quite a magnificent pen with a quill nib. This would be fun to take to Italy. It would be going home. Gorgeous, gorgeous pen. A lot of fun. I've been using this, but it's been sleeping for a couple months. So maybe it needs to see a little sunshine. And it has a friend, and that's the twin tank touchdown fountain pen with a steel nib, but 2 tanks, seal it up, great for travel. Very robust pen. I'm not super jazzed on the metal grip, but it's not the worst because where I grip, you get a lot of plastic too. But very clear pen, made out of sort of like Corningware material, very hard. I don't want to say unbreakable, but let's say break resistant glass. So very, very tough, rugged, interesting fountain pen. But I think that's kind of the direction with this and with taking my collection as I go forward. I'm going to be rehoming, selling, giving various pens away. And then I have an ink project coming up too, which I'll be filming that I think you guys will like. And it's just a little bit of sort of paring down to the essentials and to growing a more sort of, I'm trying to find another word besides diversified, but let's just say a fountain pen collection with a lot of unique pens, with a lot of variations, and a lot of very specific expressions of some of the possibilities that these magnificent writing instruments afford us. Because otherwise you do find yourself sort of slipping into a rut and writing with the same old nib, with the same old materials. But there are so many different variables here, from what you can make a pen from what your feed can be, your ink, and all this, that you can put them away in innumerable combinations to produce a fantastic fountain pen that will keep you inspired and keep it fresh and unique. And that's the direction I'm going in as I move forward with my collection. And I just put it out to you and what you think. Do you ever sometimes think you have too many pens, or are you someone who could buy 50 different Lami Safaris? I don't mean to pick on the Lami Safari. I adore the Lami Safari. And I am looking for it in terracotta and Savannah. So if you see one, send me an email and let me know that you've seen it, because I'll probably grab it. I want to have them for filming, which is super fun. Really do like them. And I have a recent video on the Lami Safari. I think a lot of you have seen. I'm very, very proud of it. The channel's moving to this very immersive history plus fountain pen format, which I think you'll enjoy. There's some really interesting stuff coming up. I think this autumn season looks pretty strong, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like Thursday's video on the fountain pen cases. That's a new one for me, and I'm excited about it. I haven't spoken about those much. I haven't spoken about paper very often. I feel like I need to get more into paper as well. David Parsons asks, is 18 Mont Blancs too many? I don't think so. I don't think any of anything is really. I don't know how many Mont Blanc pens I have. I have, I don't know, but not 18. But I think I have at least 8 or 9. So, and each of them is, for the most part, pretty different. So I get it. And by the way, these are my guidelines and sort of where I'm going. This is in no means anything that applies to any of you except conversationally. It's just, I would love to get your thoughts on how I'm approaching this. But any guideline or something I put up for the channel does not apply to you guys, only to me. And that's sort of what's kept me out of trouble these 3 years I've been on YouTube, is that I am the foremost authority. I am the number one authority in the world, the number one authority in the world on my own opinion. So as long as I keep it on my own opinion, I'm unassailable. And I think once you learn my aesthetic, then you can see where I'm coming from. And if there's a pen you like that I happen to criticize, you can sort of put it in context and be like, well, he just doesn't like that kind of pen or whatever. And then it kind of helps you with your choices as we go ahead. So much of this channel really is all academic. It's all about new ideas and new ways of looking at pens and new ways of challenging our thoughts on these beautiful, beautiful writing instruments and how we we use them and integrate them into our lives. So that's where I'm coming from. Well, it looks like we are at the end of one of the briskest shows I've ever done. It was a blast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it this far, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe and consider becoming a member. We're still doing the Pen Pal group for Cognoscenti and Illuminati. It's super fun. Always a letter to write. Always fun to get a letter from beautiful, wonderful, expressive, very generous people with their time, their energy, and their knowledge. So thanks to the members for keeping me inspired. So I can promise you guys it's time for me to go, but I'll promise you this. We will see each other again. And by that, I mean very, very soon, further up the road. So until then, thank you all for watching. Love you all, and I'll see you soon. So take care.